The oldest interpretation of the form of the letter Gimel is that of a foot running. The psalmist said, "I will run the way of thy commandments." Psalm 119 verse 32. The Gimel presses forward, firmly driving its foot into the ground. Now this is more obvious in the handwritten Torah scroll. It's as though a choice has been made and the letter is driven in its chosen direction. In fact, in the scroll, the legs of the Gimel must be uneven, preferably the right leg extending very slightly below the line, again emphasizing the ideas of movement, purpose, and decision. In biblical thinking, running is the act most associated with the freedom of choice, and there is a link between the shape of the letter and free will. The word for run in Hebrew is rutz, and the word for will is ratzon, will. The two ideas are interconnected. In fact, the same letters are used, resh, vav, tzadi, resh, tzadi, vav, with the nun added there. But it's the same root. So the two ideas, running and the power of will, are interconnected. If you've got a strong will, you will run to your goal. And if you're running, the odds are you know exactly where you're going. Will and running are interconnected. When I have a genuine will to do something, I pursue it with gusto, and my actions have a direct impact on reality. Rutz, run, ratzon, will. The two are interconnected. We visited a 13th century castle in North Wales some years ago, and one of the things that impressed itself on my memory were the marks of a stonemason's axe on the wall of a stairway. You could clearly see the arc of the man's arm as he wielded his axe. You could see the arc scored on the face of the stone. And I pivoted my own arm from the elbow, and the angle was identical. It was sort of strange, a poignant witness to the will and energy which a certain individual once possessed 700 years ago. His simple action left a mark that had endured. The everyday unremarkable actions of a person's life have a curious habit of leaving marks that long outlast the will and energy that caused them. We may think that our actions are unremarkable, but we're not the best judges of what action is significant or not. We should always seek to honour God by doing what we do with all of our heart. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. Colossians 3:23. If my will is pure and free, especially from selfishness, then the effects of the action will endure even longer than my presence here in this world. My actions will have left a blessing waiting for somebody to discover, and when they are benefited by it, my inheritance in heaven increases. Good works don't die. They continue bearing fruit to the advantage of the person who did them. Now, have you noticed how love energizes our will? The lover says to her beloved in the Song of Solomon, "Draw me away with you and let us run together." Chapter 1, verse 4. Love energizes the will. Lovers don't need encouragement. Jesus warned that in the last days the love of many will grow cold. Matthew 24:12. We could say half-hearted. They'll do as much as expected and no more. But a lover is always thinking up new ways to bless the beloved. Many Christians lack initiative. They'll be led up to a point, they don't want to get a bad name, but they won't be inventive in their walk with Jesus. Their love has become tepid. A strong will runs to perform the task, to run the race, to reach the goal. And it's love that inspires the will. If I love climbing, I'll have the will to climb a mountain. If I love Jesus, I'll find almost endless opportunities to show him. It won't be hard. This is the ideal situation. But the truth is, we can lose heart. Or to put it another way, our love becomes weary or tepid, maybe through disappointment or opposition. And that's when I must persevere with my will. If my heart condemns me, God is greater than my heart, and I must persevere. And hardest of all, if I have lost that sense of his love and nearness, I must persevere with my will. Even though he slay me, yet will I trust him, said Job. You see, it works both ways. Love inspires will, and sometimes will must come to the rescue of love. There will be times when the blessing seems to have faded, but I didn't come here primarily for the blessing. I came because I heard him call me, and he's never yet sent me away, so here I stay. As the three friends of Daniel said before being thrown into the furnace for their love of God, our God is able to save us from this fire, but even if he doesn't, we won't worship you, O King. Daniel chapter 3. Sanctified belligerence and a determined will to go on regardless. These stories of faith in the furnace of affliction inspire us to this day. Now here's a final thought. I was out running one day and accidentally put my foot in some freshly laid cement on the footpath. Some time later, many months later, I went that way again, and there in the cement was my footprint. I stopped to look, and I noticed that much of the foot was hardly noticeable. It was the front part of the foot, the ball of the foot and the toes that were more deeply impressed in the cement and would outlast all the rest. The impression of the life of a person who is running after the Lord and together with the Lord will outlast the person who is strolling. Stephen was a man full of faith and of the Holy Ghost. They were not able to resist the wisdom and the spirit by which he spoke, and all that sat in the council, looking steadfastly on him, saw his face as it had been the face of an angel. Acts chapter 6. 2,000 years ago, we're still talking about it. The Gimel is a foot running.